This week on the Digital Coffee, original content is going to win out on Instagram in the future. Is social audio coming to an end? And what's going on with that Twitter button? What's it going to look like? All that and more after this. Good morning, and welcome to the Digital Coffee. This is your weekly dose of digital marketing and social media news for small business. My name is Amanda Webb, and you are very welcome. I am grabbing a cup in my hand, which as always is empty because I don't allow myself to have coffee until after the show because I talk too fast anyway. Anyone that saw my live with Samantha Kelly yesterday will see what I sound like after 2 cups of coffee. And I am fast, but I'd love to know what's in your mug. So my sad empty mug needs filling. What should I put in it? I'd like to give a big shout out to everyone who is watching on YouTube. I can see we've got Howard Howie and Making over there. A big shout out to anyone that's watching on Facebook. Hello to Kate McQuillan, who's just left a little message to tell me she's drinking tea. I've had a cup of tea. I think I'm okay on my tea front, but I might have another one. And I'd like to say hello to anyone who is watching LinkedIn. You are very welcome to the show, and we have lots of news for you this week. Firstly, I've got a question. If you are an Instagram user, do you still use hashtags? Do you use hashtags? How many hashtags do you use? Do you find them effective? I'd love to know if you are using hashtags and how much time you actually put into those hashtags. As usual, this is about a story that I've got coming up. So just a big shout out to everyone who's watching. We've got Making over on YouTube. And for those of you that don't know, I run a Twitter space with Making at 10:30 a.m. where we discuss these stories in more detail. You can come in and have your say as well. So if you're on Twitter, go to my Twitter account at SpiderWorking and you will find a pinned tweet there at 10:30 to join in. So a big hello there. Also, I'm going to see Making soon, but I'll tell you more about that in a second. Hello to Howard Howie, our resident photographer. I am so blind now, I can't see. Preempting the question, Making is saying. Okay, well, you know, Kate is drinking tea, jasmine tea for Howard Howie. There's Louise. Again, I'll be seeing Louise next week. Oh, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but I will tell you now in a second if you don't. Good morning, Louise, over on LinkedIn, and to Hannah, who I am meeting next week for the first time. So thank you for joining me. And Hannah says she does use hashtags dependent on the content, so that's good to know. Kate, now this is interesting from Kate because Kate is a big Instagrammer. She's great on Instagram, says that she still uses hashtags, although she's never found them that effective, really. Could that be a little hint about the story that we're going to talk about shortly?
Hi, Sasha Lydia from Think Outside the Bot, and you're watching the Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Social networks control us with their algorithms. Every single time they make a change, we have to adapt and change the way that we're marketing on social media. And actually, that is one of the most annoying things about social media, isn't it? You just think you've got it sussed and they change the algorithm. Well, happened again. Adam Mosserite, an Instagram boss, announced this week that they are changing ranking, which is what they call the Instagram algorithm, again. And this time they are going to promote original content in the feed and demote non-original content. Now, the way Instagram works is if you keep scrolling, you will see every single post that's been posted by the people that you follow, but depending where you will see it in the feed is how ranking works. So it sounds good, right? Sounds good. Original content. That's what I create. That's probably what you create. That's going to be great. But what does this actually mean? Mossari, one day I'll say his name right. Mossari says that if you create content yourself, even if it's edited off platform and you upload it from your camera roll, as long as you created it yourself, they're considering that original content. What's not original content is reposts or content you didn't create yourself. I'm sure you're thinking what I'm thinking. How do they know? How do they know if I created it or someone else created it? You know, I know their AI bots are pretty great, but are they at the stage that they will know that this is aggregated content? It's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm sure for most of us, well, for some of us, this is good news. It does mean that we're going to need to put more effort into actually creating unique content. It does mean that reposts and reshares aren't going to be as significant. And this is something Instagram has been hinting at for a while. You may remember like a few months ago, they started saying that they were going to take away the option to share posts into your stories because people didn't like that. So they're obviously fighting for more original content. And we think the people that are going to suffer most from this and the people that this is aimed at are aggregated accounts that basically aggregate content from other accounts together in one space. They have said that if you repost unoriginal content consistently, you are going to see your posts demoted in the feed in general, no matter what you're posting. So it's an interesting one. Great news for creators, not such great news for other people who are relying on maybe stock sites to populate their feeds. I'm seeing some comments coming in here. I'm having to squint. I've actually gone blind overnight. That's happened. Hannah says, I'm like, you should listen to this for your, I see you're tagging someone. That's why I can't read what you're saying. So thank you for spreading the word, Hannah. You're a star. Here we go. I collaborate with Instagrammers, so I often repost. So that will mean, will I be affected? Insert sad face. Well, it depends. I think you create a lot of your own original content. I think it's really aimed at everything that you repost. If you're doing that all the time, your account will get demoted. Whereas, yes, when you share other people's content, we've already seen this happen on Facebook. When you share content from other people, it won't get as much reach as your original content. So that will have some effect, but it won't affect your regular posts, which is good news. And, we've seen on social media that it can actually be more effective to leave a comment than to share as well. So, that will get more engagement going on posts across the board on all social networks. To comment on a post rather than sharing it can actually amplify it more, which is interesting. Good morning to Deirdre over on YouTube. Great to see us here. I have reading glasses. You know what it is? I am so vain that I don't like to wear them when I'm doing my live show. So I just need to make the text bigger on my computer. That's what it is. Ah, dear. Well, maybe one day I'll come out as a glasses wearer. You never know. It's also the lights will reflect in them and stuff. Does that include using Canva? No. So it's your creation. They have said that if you create on another platform and bring it in, that is fine, as long as it's your original content. I mean, if you're using a Canva template and you haven't changed anything out of it, I imagine that won't go down well. But as long as you've changed it and made it your own, put your own images in and put your own videos in, that should be fine. That should, we don't know. This is all guesswork, but by the sounds of it, when he says as if you create off platform and upload it, you won't be affected as long as it is only your original content. So I think you're fine designing on Canva or InShot, or even as long as it doesn't have the watermark. If you're using TikTok videos, the watermark gets you demoted, but the content won't, as long as it's not being the same piece of content shared by, say, 10 people on the same platform, or maybe 100 people. That's my understanding. But don't hit me if I'm wrong, will you?
This is Making Sang, first name Making, from the FOMO Creator, and you have been watching the Digital Coffee Show with Amanda Webb.
Hashtags are going to have way less relevance in the future on Instagram, or that is the way it looks like it's going. Because this week, Instagram started an official test that will remove the recent tab from hashtag search pages. So at the moment, you have the recents tab, you have the top tab, you have the recents tab, and you have the reels tab. So the top tab is the ones that have got the most engagement, and very often they're old posts and they don't change that often. Recent, it's like depending on the size of the hashtag, that can refresh quite fast, but you've got a good chance of appearing in that, again depending on the size of the hashtag. And then you've got the reels tab. Removing the recents tab, they're also going to make sure that the top tab is refreshed more frequently. So there will actually be recent top posts rather than just the top post for that hashtag ever. So this means that actually, if you're a small account, you don't really stand a chance of getting onto that hashtag page unless you create a reel. So if you're a large account, you've got a good chance because you will get a lot of engagement on your posts. So there's a good chance that you could make it into the top feed. And if you create reels, that's going to remain the same. So there's a chance you can appear there. But really where us as smaller businesses have sat is in that middle recents tab. And that's what they're getting rid of. Now, this sounds like bad news, right? Because if you want to get all that engagement, or if you want to create reels, that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work for you. I mean, if you're using Instagram, you really should be trying out reels occasionally anyway, but it's a lot of work to keep consistent there. But is it so bad? Is it so bad when we know that Instagram is moving away from hashtags as a way to search content and more into keyword search? You'll have noticed yourself that when you type a keyword into Instagram now, it will bring up relevant results. You don't even need the hashtag. It's an interesting one. And like I say, probably bad news for businesses, but then I would see, does it have a detrimental effect on the reach of your accounts if this is rolled out fully? And you know what? I think it will be rolled out fully.
Hi, I'm Danielle from Webb, and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
I should really get rid of that off the screen, shouldn't I? There we go. Instagram hashtags don't really get you any more impressions on Instagram. Where have we heard that before? You remember a few weeks ago now, Adam Mosseri, we'll say his name right one day, announced that hashtags don't really get you any extra reach. And we were all scratching our heads going, but there's this statistic there and it shows you that we've actually got a number of impressions from our hashtags. Well, Social Insider did a study, and their study found that hashtags don't really get you any more impressions. You might see a very tiny increase in impressions, but nothing significant. So all that time you are spending putting hashtags together, doing your hashtag research, making sure you've got exactly the right ones there, making sure they're spaced out properly, making sure they're actually in the main description and not in the caption, because Adam told us that wasn't good. So well, we've done all that work and it's an insignificant increase no matter how many hashtags you use. In fact, you remember when Adam Mosseri, I think I said it right, said that using 3 to 4 hashtags was enough, and the whole world, everyone went, what? I use 30 hashtags and that's better. Well, it turns out that the optimum number of hashtags from Social Insider's study to use is 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, 3 to 5, 3 to 5. So he was right. Who knew that the boss of Instagram actually knew how Instagram worked? I was skeptical, but I've changed my mind. I wanted to challenge myself to say this number. They analysed 75,361,233 Instagram accounts in this study, and it's conclusive. Doesn't really matter if you use hashtags or not. And yet again, keyword research is going to be more important in the future. So instead of spending all that time on hashtag research, spend time writing a good keyword-rich, compelling caption, because that is where you're going to be found in the future. I can see we've got a big comment from Howard here. I think it negatively impacts the mental health of many people who use Instagram. Smaller accounts will not be found, and as engagement falls, you can potentially see where this is going. So I suppose that really depends how much people use those hashtag pages in the future. And you're right, because the bigger accounts do tend to like optimize life as being wonderful, which we know is having a detrimental effect on people's mental health. I wonder what the change in search, will that have an effect on people? We are already seeing a decrease in engagement on Instagram overall. I mean, it was bound to happen at some stage. So, and how is that affecting people? People who were propping up their egos with the number of likes they got on posts. Is that really causing damage to them? That's a really good question. Good morning to James, who is having coffee. I really want coffee, I'm so tired this morning. I really want coffee. Stop mentioning coffee. I can't have coffee till before our Twitter space. One thing I wanted to mention to you before I move on is that on Wednesday, do you know what's happening on Wednesday? Kickstart Dublin is happening on Wednesday. I cannot wait. May King and myself will actually see each other. Yes, we will, because this is a boutique conference that's happening in Dublin on Wednesday afternoon after lunch. That sounds like not enough time to learn anything, does it? But we have got 12 speakers. The sessions are only going to be 20 minutes long, so each one will have some really actionable insights. May King is our closing headline speaker, and I've already seen a sneak peek of her presentation. It is going to be great. We've got Christine Gritman talking about personal branding. She's coming over from the United States. She is opening the conference. I'm speaking. Louise Brogan is speaking. Carmel Siri is going to talk about money. We've got a panel with the guys from Lurg Media coming from Galway. We've also got Florence from MIO Prints on that panel. We've also got Neve on that panel. And we've got Melanie Boylan, who is a journalist for Irish Tech News, who is moderating that panel. We have got Andrew and Pete in an interview with Ali Spillane, who is going to ask them lots of searching questions, because I've seen her in action, about how they've managed to be so frigging successful by the age of 31. And we are going to have some drinks afterwards. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, get your tickets at spiderworking.com/kickstart. Message me, I will send you the link. That is spiderworking.com/kickstart. We've still got a very few tickets left, so make sure you get hold of those. Right, okay. Hannah, this is where I'm going to see Hannah. I cannot wait to meet you, Hannah. I think Hannah was the first person to buy a ticket for this event, so extra special VIP there. Good morning, Deirdre. You're in Lanzarote. Stop. She's saying both Lanzarote, which we know means sun, and coffee in the same one. I'm just looking out at the dull sky of a thigh, craving coffee. Deirdre says, so essentially think about what you're posting on Instagram and then and the text you're accompanying your post with. Know your spiel and why you use it. Back to roots thinking. Yeah. So I'm not saying, they're saying 3 to 5 hashtags is fine. So you don't have to do an intense amount of research, but it's really going to be, that is to classify your tweet rather than thinking about getting reach with it. And think then your caption on Instagram is going to be a bit like your SEO on your website. You want to talk about what the post is actually about so it can get found in search. I think it's going to be a really good thing, to be honest. I can't remember which button I pressed last, so I'm just going to press Christine, because Christine, we're going to see Christine on Wednesday too. That's so exciting. Who's coming? Tell me if you're coming.
Hey, I'm Christine Gritman, and you are watching The Digital Coffee with social media superstar Amanda Webb.
Is social audio on the way out? I don't think so. But it is true that some of the big tech companies no longer see it as a threat. Because we have seen Spotify. They have a social audio tool called Green Room. Now, they're not getting rid of it. They're keeping it, but they have stopped bribing people to use it with a creator fund this week. Also, Meta have removed resources away from their live audio product, which is called Audio Rooms on Facebook, I think. Yeah. they're moving away because Clubhouse really hasn't continued to take off the way it did. Could be lots of reasons behind this. I think, its sudden growth didn't do it any favors because they weren't quite ready for that, because people are going back to work, because lockdown is over and we want to go outside and we don't necessarily want to spend so much time listening and in participating in rooms when we can actually talk to real people. And because Clubhouse isn't a threat, Facebook and Spotify have taken their foot off the pedal. But I don't think it's dead. And I don't think we should stop doing it necessarily. Maybe that's because I'm kind of attached to the Twitter space that I run. But this week on Twitter, a space hosted by ex-president of Pakistan, Imran Khan, who I will always think of as a cricketer, but that's a whole other story. He hosted a space that had, 64,000 people on it, on Twitter. Audio's not dead. But you know what? The other time that I saw Twitter Spaces really blow up was at the beginning of the Ukraine war, because we saw lots of people coming in reporting live from there. So there is room for Twitter Spaces and there is room for news on Twitter. And I think that's what Twitter has always excelled at. Are you listening, Elon Musk? Twitter is good at news. Don't let that break, because it's always been a good place to find breaking news and connect with journalists and influencers. And Twitter Spaces still seems to be a space where breaking news really works. So although maybe you want to abandon your Clubhouse strategy, maybe you don't want to abandon social audio altogether. I see a comment from Howard Howie here. I find that no one reads what I write. I ask people questions to reply my comments and no one does, but yet people will like. So they're clearly just looking at pics in the feed and double tapping. I mean, there is a lot of that. But your real fans, who are going to be the cream of the crop there, the maybe 1% of the people that see your posts maybe will read. And I often think we think lack of engagement means that people aren't looking and reading our stuff. And that's a mistake, as May King will tell you, lurkers are your friends. So actually a lot of people could be reading, but they don't want to react. There's a whole bunch of people on social media who don't. And it often astonishes me when someone gets in touch with me and they'll say, oh, I've been watching your videos on LinkedIn, but I've never once even seen that they've clicked a like button or they've never commented. Yet they're still watching. So don't lose heart. It's still worth writing that caption. Social audio, James. Yes, absolutely. I don't think it's going away, but I do think it's probably over its big wave of popularity. Now it has to have, make sure that there's still something valuable there for people. I know there's some sort of curve thing that we need to look at. Early adopters, blah, blah, blah. For the lurkers, yes. Keep writing, create content for the lurkers, and one day people will get in touch with you. Just keep on going. Don't measure yourself. You see, you're falling into that trap now, Howard Howie, that you were talking about people's self-esteem and mental health, relying on the number of likes they get. So, don't worry too much. You're getting the likes, I know, but people are reading. I guarantee you, people are reading your posts. They just haven't told you. They haven't told you.
Hi, I'm Lee from Wellshot and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb. Cheers.
Is it legal to scrape public data from LinkedIn? The courts say yes, it is. Now, this is publicly shared information that people know that they are sharing publicly. LinkedIn has lost its case about this for the second time. They really don't want people scraping the public data, and there's reasons why they might not want that. In fact, what they say is, we will continue to fight to protect our members' ability to control the information they make available on LinkedIn. When your data is taken without permission and used in ways you haven't agreed to, that's not okay. On LinkedIn, our members trust us with their information, which is why we prohibit unauthorized scraping on our platform. Now, that all sounds really good, doesn't it? I mean, that sounds like LinkedIn actually care about us. LinkedIn that's owned by Microsoft, just saying. And, from a marketing point of view, that does sound pretty good. But why are they doing this really? That's always my question with big companies who have to answer to shareholders. So the case they've actually been taking has been against a competitor who has been scraping the data. And obviously they don't want a competitor in the market. They want to shut that competitor down. If that competitor can no longer scrape data or use the data it's scraped, that competitor is gone. So it's actually good for their business if you can't scrape data. Remember, we are talking about publicly available information that people have chosen to make public. This isn't like hidden information. So you do have control over what you make public on LinkedIn. I'm not a fan of people scraping the data. It has been used really badly for facial recognition tools, for example. But I do question LinkedIn's motives here. Am I right to question it, or should I suddenly LinkedIn pull my live stream and won't let me do that anymore? Am I right to question their motives, or do you think they're being upfront and honest about wanting to protect their users?
You're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Instagram is working on a tool that will allow you to add topics to your reels. So when you upload it, you'll have this new little function. You'll be able to add topics. Now, this was found by reverse engineer Alessandro Paluzzi. And so it's back end stuff. He's kind of found it in the code. It's not live yet, so we're not quite sure how it's going to work. Is it going to give us a list of topics we can choose from, like on Twitter Spaces, hopefully a bit more comprehensive than Twitter Spaces, or are we going to be able to add our own? I don't know, but my feeling is that you will be choosing from a list of topics, and this could really be good for your discoverability in search. So we're back to hashtags again. At the moment, we use hashtags to get discovered in search, whereas by adding topics now, this will help our visibility in search if you use Reels. Yet another nail in the coffin for hashtags, right? I do think this could be effective because at the moment, Reels are generally only reaching people outside your existing audience. So by adding topics, it could give a new way to be found. It doesn't fix the fact that you're reaching people outside your audience, but if you were searching for cat videos, for example, maybe there's going to be an animals topic that I'll be able to tune into and make sure I filter out all those pesky business posts that seem to creep into my Reels feed. So here's a comment from Deirdre, who's talking about LinkedIn, the data scraping. Is that true? Why I'm spammed by recruiters making weird offers? Maybe I don't understand what scraping means. No, recruiters are using probably one of the LinkedIn paid tools to find you and send you messages. Any message you get from within LinkedIn is happening on LinkedIn. So what scraping means is it will go into LinkedIn, and anything that is public on a profile, it will be able to take your name, your email address, your photograph, for example. Any information that you've made public will be scraped by a machine, put into a database, and then that is used for various purposes. So it was used to help a facial identification tool that was trying to, I think it was trying to stop like antisocial people by finding similar facial, I don't know enough about it, I'm making it up, but that was one of the reasons it was used. Or it's going to scrape all those email addresses and you might get an spammy emails. You know, we all have spam filters full of spammy emails. Or it might just try and find things in common. A big data set can give you a lot of information about the people in the world. So that's what data scraping is. It's not the people who are contacting you through LinkedIn about jobs are just using one of LinkedIn's internal tools. Hope that really vague explanation helps. I think I've got another story. I do have another story. I almost pressed the wrong button. Let's go with this one.
I'm Ian Anderson-Gray and you're watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Ever since the Twitter edit button was announced, we've wondered how that is going to work, because one of the reasons Jack Dorsey had always said we're not going to have a Twitter button Twitter edit button was because he was concerned that people who'd retweeted the original tweet or who'd participated in a thread about the original tweet, the context of their retweet or their comment could be completely changed if somebody completely changed the tweet. So, of course, the way around this was to be able to show people the previous versions of the tweet, much like you can see if you edit a post on Facebook. Now, I've seen different versions of this popping up on Twitter ever since this was announced. And some of them, you just click a thing to expand and you'll see a drop down of all the previous versions of tweets. Another one spotted by Jane Manchon Wong, who is also a reverse engineer, actually has a full page that you'll be able to open on Twitter to review all the previous versions of the tweet. I am really interested to see how Twitter are going to handle this Twitter edit button, and also those retweets of the original tweet. Will that remain because it was of the original tweet with the new version underneath, or will that change into the new tweet? It's going to be really fascinating to see. There you go. Julie Pole says that criminal databases used in the USA plus others. So yeah, I mean, it is worrying the amount of public data that we share willingly on the internet, and what can be done with that data is quite scary. You're absolutely right. I think I explained it enough for Deirdre to understand. What's happening on Wednesday? Anyone? I've forgotten. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the Kickstart conference in Dublin is happening on Wednesday. If you're not able to attend in person, please watch the hashtag Kickstart Dublin. If you haven't got your tickets yet, we have, I think it's like 12 tickets or something left. So I did work it out this morning, I've completely forgotten, but less than 20 tickets left anyway. It's in the teens. Make sure you book your ticket now at spiderworking.com/Kickstart. And I would love to see you there. If you don't remember that link, hit me with a DM. I will send you that link. And at 10:30 a.m, come and join us on Twitter for the Twitter space, where we'll discuss these stories in more detail. And maybe we have an expert in data scraping. That I would love that. I would love that. So if you are, come over, you will see my pinned tweet about that. So you can just click that and join in. Otherwise, I will see you same bat time, same bat place next week. Until then, bye-bye.